our lesson on factored form, and the only thing we've done so far is we've talked about intercepts. If you have a x-intercept, basically the y value is a 0. If you do your y-intercept, the x value becomes a 0. Now, we talked about how we got the x-intercepts of -3, 0, and +1. We actually got those by letting the y value be a 0, and we basically factored. This was already factored, and we split and we solved it. So I actually ended up with x plus 3, which would give me -3, and we had x minus 1, which would give me +1. So -3 and +1 are the x-intercepts. The next thing we've done is we've went to our calculator, which mine has just went off, and we actually typed the equation in y equals, just like we saw it provided, and then we went ahead and looked at the table, which is second above the graph key, and we looked at the table of values and we recorded them in our data table. So what we've done so far is we've actually transferred all of those points from the table onto the graph. Now the next point, where's the vertex? Which one point that we're looking at is the vertex? The very bottom one. So this becomes our what? Vertex. What is the vertex of this graph? Okay, -1 and -4. Good. Next thing it's asking me for is axis of symmetry. There is definite symmetry across this graph. The left-hand side looks exactly like the right-hand side, so if I could imagine folding my paper, where would we draw the line that I would fold across if I was trying to draw the line? I would draw it right here at -1. Okay, so I'm drawing in this line right through here. The next question is, it is touching the x-axis, and it's touching it at what number again? -1. That's the equation of the line. It's an x equals equation, and the number is -1. Now, it always will be this way, that the axis of symmetry will actually end up being on the same x value where your vertex is located. So the vertex will never move off of that axis of symmetry. Okay. The first one's completed. Let's go ahead and do the next one, B. Now, B is related to A. What's the only difference in the B? There's a 2 in front of it. Does everybody see that all I did is I just put a 2 there? What's going to happen to every number in my Y list if I take all of the same X's and then I multiply the answer times 2? Could anybody just predict what they're going to be? What would they be? So if -4 would normally give me a 5, but if I multiplied times 2, I would get 10. -3 would give me 0. That's still 0. -1, -8. 0, -6. 1 is 0, because 0 doesn't double. And 2 would be 10. Now, if I just wanted to confirm that, Miss Jessup could go and say, you know what, I'm going to insert a 2. Now I'm going to look at the table, and lo and behold, 10, 0, -6, or -8, those same values that I saw in the table, I did talk about there. What are my x-intercepts again? Even if I split, it doesn't matter that I put the 2 in the front. If I split the parentheses, are you paying attention that how does that number come out of the parentheses? It comes out how? That's a +3 in there, but what does it come out as? -3. So it's coming out -3, and as a point, we have to represent it as a coordinate pair of -3, and if that's the x-intercept, the y is 0. What about the other parenthesis? That comes out as a what? +1. So +1, and then the y, of course, is going to be 0. So when I get ready to do this one, I'm actually going to plot the same 2 points again. But all the other points are going to be different. So this time Miss Jessup will use a different color. So this time when we plot the points -4, -1, 2, 3, 4, this time I'm going to go up to 10, which I think is at the very tip top. So you put these new points on the same graph. What happens when I put a 2? That's what we're trying to investigate. -3, 0. -1, 8. I think we'll be way down here. +1, 0's in the same place. And then over 2, up 10's way up here. Now, does this change the shape of the graph a little bit? So if I connect the points, I'm going to go through the same point down here, but I have to go deeper and go lower. Same point again. So this one is 2 times bigger. Well, how would you describe the second one I did, the one I just did in black? It's longer. Is it skinnier? It is. It's a little bit skinnier. Basically, this one is stretched. This one is vertically stretched by a factor of 2. It's been a couple of days since we talked about that, but it's vertically stretched times 2. In other words, it's like we grabbed the equation the first time and we grabbed it and we just pulled it up. It's like we stretched it lower and we pulled it up higher. So these 2 points are the same, but the vertex had to go way down here. So the vertex this time is at what? -1 and -8. But what's the axis of symmetry? The axis of symmetry is still located where? In the exact same place, right down through here. Okay, so it still is x equals -1. It's crossing the x-axis and it's crossing at the number -1. Okay, can anybody predict what's going to happen in letter C? What did I do in letter C that's different? It's going to be a lot of the same numbers, except now instead of +2, I used what? So what's going to happen to all these numbers? They're going to all be negative. So let's see. So if I put a -2, that should become -10. And then what? Well, 0 won't become negative or positive. What about -8 becomes +8? That's going to become +6. 0 doesn't change. -10. Okay. If I wanted to grab my calculator, I could confirm that. I could go to y equals, insert a negative. Whoops, I didn't like that. Okay, then I could look at the table, and sure enough, those are the same values. So it does exactly what we predicted. What are the exact same x-intercepts? It doesn't matter that I used a -2. If you split and solved, the 3 is going to come out what? Same, -3, 0. The 1 is going to come out what? It says -1 in parentheses, but it's going to come out as what? +1. So these points are not changing. These points right here, this time I'll grab this one. These 2 points right here have not changed regardless. I've changed the graph, but I've not changed the x-intercepts at all. So let's plot these points. -4, -10, way down here. -3 and 0 is right there. -1 up, +8, way up there. And then 0, 6, 0 and up 6 is right there. And then 1, 0, and then over 2 and down -10 again. So if I graph this one, how is this one different from the last one? Just upside down. Remember how when you put a negative in the front, what's supposed to happen to the graph? It flips it down. And it did that. It flipped it upside down. Notice it's still skinny. It's still vertically stretched by 2. It's still skinny. It just looks a little bit different. Does everybody understand what we just showed here? Are there some things that stayed the same? The vertex is different. So the vertex is now located at where? -1 and up. What? +8. And the axis of symmetry is still located at x equals what? -1. So in all 3 of these graphs, the axis of symmetry, and axis of symmetry all stayed the same. We stretched the graph out, we flipped it down, but our x-intercept stayed the same. Okay. We're going to repeat that process, but we're going to actually look at different numbers. So let's go to the bottom half of that same page. Let's go to the bottom half. Is everybody looking at the bottom section? Okay. We'll see if we can go a little quicker. We do have our calculators. Okay, we're at the bottom half of the page, and I will post this video so you'll have a chance to go ahead and check. Okay. Do we want to put 3 in the equation? Okay, I could though, couldn't I? So what if I put a 3 in for x here and here? 3 minus 4, and then what? 3 minus 8. What's 3 minus 4? -1. What's 3 minus 8? Negative 5. Now take those two answers and multiply them. What's negative 1 times negative 5? Positive 5, I think, right? We realize that's probably the long way. Let's go ahead and grab the calculator. Let's type in that new equation. So I'm going to clear out my old. Parentheses, x subtract 4, close. Open the next. X subtract 8, and close. Does anybody know where my x-intercepts are going to be located already? Before I even put the points on there. What are going to be my x-intercepts? Well, let's imagine split and solve. How's the 4 going to come out? How's the 8 going to come out? They're going to come out as what? They're going to come out opposite. Remember, we've been doing that opposite. So that would be positive 4 and what? 0, and positive 8, 0. That's part of what you need to know today, okay? Now, let's go ahead and use our calculator, second table, and this time I'm going to go down just a little bit till I can see. So we did get 3 right. You guys tell me the numbers, because when I go off the screen to write them, I lose it. Y'all got them? Okay, go back to your equation. Chances are you've got something just typed not exactly right. Maybe a times instead of a subtract. X minus 4, parentheses, x minus 8. Make sure your equation's in there right. Okay, who's got the numbers? At 4, what is it? 0. What else? 5? Negative 3? I can't hear you as well. Okay, we got those points? Are those okay points? Okay, so let's plot those points. Over 3, and then up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put a dot there. Over 4, and up 0. Over 5, down 1, 2, 3. Over 6, down 1, 2, 3, 4. Over 7, down 3, and then over 8, down 0. Do you have enough points to know where the graph is located? Take your time, plot your points. Remember, go over and across first. So you always go across the graph, forwards and backwards, then go up and down second. Do you have enough points to plot the shape of this parabola? Go ahead and draw that on your paper. Okay. Can anybody tell me where the vertex is? Where is the vertex? Vertex is that turning point. The lowest or highest point. It's like it's over 6, down 1, 2, 3. So 6 down 4. So 6 down 4 would be my vertex. 6, negative 4. Now, if you had to come up here and draw a line where you would physically fold the paper to where the left hand matches the right hand, where would you draw it? Wouldn't it be exactly in the middle between the 4 and the 8? Aren't those our x-intercepts? What's located halfway in the middle between 4 and 8? 6. Does everybody agree with that? And it actually, if I draw my line right through here, it touches the x-axis, and it touches it at what number? 6. That's the equation, x equals 6. So the axis of symmetry is that imaginary line that we could draw right down the middle of our graph to where the left-hand side would match the right-hand side. Everybody good? Okay. Now, letter B. Tell me what's going to happen when I move on to letter B. What's going to get smaller? What's the only thing different in letter B compared to letter A? It's going to get wider, and my numbers are going to get smaller. So basically, the x minus 4 and the x minus 8 parentheses are exactly the same. Then you're going to times it by half. So what's half of 5? Can you do that in your head? 2.5. What's half of 0? 0. Half of negative 3? Negative 1.5, still negative. Half of negative 4, negative 2. Half of negative 3 again, negative 1.5, and then half of 0 still 0. Okay, I'm going to pick up a different color. If you have a different color, if you have a highlighter or color pencil, or if you want to grab markers, that's fine with me. I've got color pencils in my drawer. I'm going to go to over 3 and up 1, 2.5. I think I'll do this in green. Okay. Over 4 up 0, that point is not changing. Over 5 down 1.5. Over 6 down 1, 2. Over 7, 1.5. And over 8, 0. Do you have enough information to know where this graph is going to be drawn? Take your time, put your points on there. If you got your points on there, over and then up or down that many. Yeah, go ahead and put your points on there. This is a way, we're not going to put all these points on there. This is probably the only time that we're going to, put all of these points on there, but we're just trying to understand how does this work. So I'm going to draw my graph. Someone predicted it. Who predicted that it would be wider? I think that was Miss Danielle. Very good. Anybody want to hazard a guess as to what might happen when I go from B to C? It's going to get even wider, isn't it? Okay. Let's finish up letter B. Are my x-intercepts exactly the same? Just because I put a 1/2, are my x-intercepts exactly the same? If you go across the x-axis, where do they still touch? They still touch it where? Positive 4, and where else? Positive 8. If I pull the 4 out of parentheses, it comes out what? Opposite. Is anybody seeing that? It comes out opposite. So it comes out positive 4, comes out positive 8, and the y is always 0. That's how you represent it as a point. X is the positive 4, the y is 0. X is a positive 8, the y is 0. Where's the vertex of this graph? What's the lowest point? Over at 6, it went as deep as how deep? Negative 2. Went to 6, negative 2. Over positive 6, down negative 2. Is my axis of symmetry still the same thing? If you had to draw a line and fold the green parabola, would the 2 halves meet across what line? Still across 6, wouldn't it? So I would still be drawing it right across 6. Okay. So my axis of symmetry is x equals positive 6. The axis of symmetry is remaining the same. Are you kind of understanding that some things do change when you change a number, but some things don't? Okay. I'm not going to do the points this time. I think we've got enough. Who can tell me which points in part C will not change? Axis of symmetry won't change. You're right. How about the x-intercepts? Do they have the same parentheses? So they're going to come out as opposite, aren't they? So if they come out opposite, what are they? Positive 4, 0 and positive 8, 0. So they're coming out opposite. So I'm still going to have these same 2 points. Now, what's a half of 2.5? What's a half of 2.5? If you have $2.50, cut it in half. $1.25. Half of 0 is still that. What's half of 1.5? I think it's 0.75. Half of 2 is negative 1. Half of that's negative 0.75. And half of that 0. So if I do graph it, I'm going to have 3, 1, over 3 and up 1. Who said this one was going to be even wider? Did you say that? I believe you're right. The lowest point is going to be over 6 and down 1. Just put those 2 points on there and let's draw it. Does everybody see what happened? When it went to a 4th, it went even wider. This one is actually what we call vertically, not stretched, but vertically what? It vertically shrinks. This one vertically shrank by 1/2. This one vertically shrank by what? 1/4. Okay, it's like an elephant sitting on it. When an elephant sits down on it, whoosh, pops it out. Makes it look wider. Okay. We've just practiced 6 graphs, factored form. What can you tell me about the x's that came out of the parentheses every single time? They always come out what? Opposite. Okay. Next thing. So this is standard form. Notice no parentheses. This one is what? Factor form. I don't think this was written on there. I think I summarized this when I was typing my on-screen notes. Did y'all see this? So it's almost like A. What does the A value do? This tells you if it what? Stretches or what? Shrinks. And it also tells you if it what? If it's up or if it's what? Down. What does it have to be in front to be up? What kind of number do you have to have in the very front to have an up graph? Positive. So positive A values graph is up. Okay? The bowl would hold water. Does everybody get that? What if it's a negative A value? Then the graph does what? It flips down. And then the graph would not. The cup would not hold water. Everybody ready to try some matching on the back? Not yet. Everybody ready to try matching on the back? It's going to be a class activity. Here we go. Okay. You're trying to match. Everybody ready? All you have is a generic graph. I do see number 6 has a negative in there. I see number 1 has a negative. What does the negative out front mean? This one means that it's going to turn down. Flips down. Everybody good? How many graphs over there flip down? How many? How many graphs flip down? Not many, right? Not many. Okay. What are my x-intercepts going to come out? What are my x-intercepts? This one's going to come out as what? Negative 2, 0. And this other one's going to come out as positive 3, 0. Yes. When you get to the graph, I want you to put the number. So which one's turned down? This one turns down. This one turns down. There's one at the bottom turns down, right? Whoops. Didn't need to do that, I guess. Okay. But number 1 turns what? Down. Does it match the second graph, the third graph, or does it match one lower on the page? I'm hearing the third. Does everybody see the third? Okay. This one turns down. Okay. Does everybody see it turns down? And it has negative 2, which matches. And it has what? Positive 3, and that matches. So this would be number 1. So you go on the graph and you mark it number 1. So we're going to pause. You guys see if you can pick out the next one. We want to do this one together? Some people got it? No, we're just doing it. You got about 3 minutes in class, 3 or 4 minutes. We're going to match these 12. Then we got the next part. We're just pausing to see if we can understand. When you have factored form, the factors come out. Those are your x-intercepts. They come out opposite. So when I look at number 2, this x-intercept, is this going to flip, turn up or down? Has it got a negative out front? No. It's got a positive. It's implied to be positive. So this one's going to do what? That's going to turn up. I got a bunch that turn up. What are my x-intercepts? This is going to come out as what? It says minus 2 in the parentheses, but it comes out opposite. So it's going to come out what? Positive 2. What about this one? It's going to come out opposite. So it's going to come out as negative 3. So I have to find one that turns up, and it's got to touch at positive 2 and negative 3. Which one's that? That one turns up 1 and 4. Nope. Negative 2 and 3. Nope. Negative 4. Okay, I'm hearing. Is this one? Negative 3, positive 2, and it turns up. Yes. Number 2 is actually right underneath number 1. Do y'all see how we match that? Okay, take your time. See if you can match going across the different ones. Just see if it turns.
Number 2. Number 2 is the first one.
Yeah.
Number 2's right here, Miss Jessup.
No, it's not that one.
Yeah, it is.
No, ma'am. It comes out opposite. It says -2, but it comes out opposite. It says +2. That would be this one over here. Okay, the x-intercepts comes out of the parentheses opposite. Yes, ma'am. You do some matches first. Where's your paper at? Oh, what a shame. You're not going.